Here are the top stories for today, June 28, 2022. Metro Manila and several other areas in the country remain under the most lenient Alert Level 1 despite an apparent uptick in COVID-19 cases. Agriculture Chief William Dar says officials of the agency tagged as involved in smuggling must defend themselves. The latest development in the face of a country confronted by food security issues. President Rodrigo Duterte is stepping down from office on a high note as he remains the most trusted chief executive in the post-EDSA 1 era based on the results of a recent poll. And small businesses get boosted capability to weather the impact of disasters thanks to digital tools aimed at preparing them for the unexpected. We start with the latest on the COVID-19 situation in the country. Metro Manila and several other areas will still be under the Alert Level 1 from July 1st to 15. Acting Presidential Spokesperson Martin Andanar said the Interagency Task Force on Emerging Infectious Diseases, or IATF, approved the recommendations of the Sub-Technical Working Group for keeping the alert level in the region. Also placed under Alert Level 1 are 85 out of the 121 provinces, highly urbanized cities and independent component cities, as well as 166 of 744 component cities and municipalities. Meanwhile, unvaccinated eligible employees in areas under Alert Level 2 and above are now required to be vaccinated against COVID-19. According to the IATF, all establishments and employers in areas where there are sufficient supplies of COVID-19 vaccines shall require their eligible on-site employees to be vaccinated. Those who remain unvaccinated shall be required to undergo RT-PCR tests once every 2 weeks or weekly antigen tests. Employees in the public sector, including local government units, may cover the costs of the RT-PCR or antigen tests, subject to the availability of funds and civil service rules. Exempted from this testing requirement are employees with recent COVID-19 infection within 90 days and those with alternative working arrangements that do not require on-site reporting. Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship Joey Concepcion urges the government to allow COVID-19 booster shots for children aged 12 to 17. This as he noted the return of face-to-face classes in August. Concepcion said the Health Technology Assessment Council, or HTAC, should decide on the rollout of booster jabs for this age group to help maintain the level of immunity in the country.
Sana they become more reasonable kasi itong mga 12 to 17 na kabataan natin na may pasok ka na sa face-to-face this August, pumayag na sila sa pagbigay ng mga bakuna dito na first booster lang naman to. At ang bagal ang galaw ng HTAC.
Meanwhile, the country's daily average of COVID-19 cases went up by 53% from June 20 to 26 According to the Department of Health, the number of COVID-19 cases reached 662 per day from June 20 to 26, from 436 per day from June 13 to 19. The latest case bulletin showed that there were 4,634 new cases and 51 verified deaths in the recent week. For the same period, 14 cases were added to the tally of severe and critical infections, which went up to 591 from the previous week's 554. Only 14.9% of ICU beds are in use, while 18.1% of non-ICU beds are utilized. Agriculture officials tagged as agricultural smugglers or protectors must be given a chance to face their accusers. Agriculture Chief William Dar said this in response to officials of the agency being named in a Senate committee report on the said matter. Included in the list were Undersecretary Ariel Cayanan, Bureau of Plant Industry Director George Culaste, and Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources Director Eduardo Gongona, among others. Bureau of Customs Chief Ray Leonardo Guerrero was also on the list, along with other customs and agriculture officials, as well as several local government officials and private individuals. Senate President Vicente Soto III said he had submitted the list to incoming Agriculture Chief and President-elect Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. Soto said he is hopeful the smuggling and corruption issue will be immediately addressed as Marcos will take over the agency's helm. Corruption cannot be stopped. It can only be minimized. President Rodrigo Duterte made this remark as he acknowledged the corrosive effect of money upon a person. This is not the first time Duterte described corruption as endemic. During his sixth and final State of the Nation address last year, Duterte said the only way to eradicate corruption is to overturn the government completely. He said his successor could only change the system if he or she would fire everybody in government by declaring martial law. Duterte, however, said his administration has taken significant strides in eradicating corruption in government. He named officials from the Bureau of Customs, Bureau of Immigration, and Department of Public Works and Highways as having been sacked for alleged corruption. In 2020, Duterte ordered the Department of Justice to head a mega task force that would probe all government agencies hounded by corruption allegations. His administration also launched a citizens hotline and complaint center where complaints against corruption and red tape are processed. Outgoing President Rodrigo Roa Duterte said President-elect Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. made the right decision to skip presidential debates during the campaign period. During his speech at the oath-taking of local officials in Davao City, Duterte said only TV station owners benefited from debates since they supposedly earned money for airing them. Candidates also have limited time to defend or elaborate their stand on certain issues. Throughout the campaign period, Marcos chose not to attend any presidential debates except for those organized by Sunshine Media Network International of Pastor Apollo Quiboloy. Duterte's daughter and Marcos's running mate, Vice President-elect Sara Duterte, also skipped election debates. Survey firm Publicus has named outgoing President Rodrigo Duterte as the most popular president of the post-EDSA 1 era. This is based on the Pahayag second quarter survey, where 75% of 1,500 respondents approved or strongly approved of Duterte's job performance during his 6-year term. Meanwhile, 69% of respondents rated their trust in Duterte as high or very high. 75% of the respondents said the overall impact of the Duterte administration on national development was slightly or very positive. The late President Noynoy Aquino III is in second place with 27%, followed by former President Fidel Ramos with 24%. Malacanang welcomed results of the survey as it thanked the public for supporting the Duterte administration. Acting presidential spokesperson Martin Andanar renewed his call to Filipinos to stand together and continue efforts for the greater good of the country. Still ahead, some incoming lawmakers rally behind incoming Education Chief Sara Duterte's push for a mandatory ROTC. And it's orientation time for some new members of the lower chamber ahead of the opening of the new Congress. We'll be back after a quick break. Keep it here on the PNA Newsroom.
Paulo Medjones po para sa kampanyang Disiplina Muna na pinangungunahan ng DILG. Bakit ba kailangan magparehistro sa pagpapabakuna laban sa COVID-19? Mahalagang magparehistro dahil ito ang unang step sa pagpapabakuna laban sa COVID-19. May 3 pamamaraan upang makapagrehistro ang isang Pilipino na nais mabakunahan. Una, ang online registration sa inyong local government unit o LGU. Pangalawa, ang pagpunta sa mga vaccination centers at pagkuha ng registration form. At pakikipag-ugnayan sa mga pinuno ng barangay o sa mga barangay health center. Tandaan, online, sa mga vaccination site o sa mga barangay health centers ang pagpaparehistro sa pagpapabakuna kontra COVID-19. Muli ako po si Paulo Medjones, Disiplina Muna Ambassador na nagpapaalala, huwag matakot magpabakuna. Bida ang may disiplina. Magparehistro at magpabakuna para ligtas ang pamilya, ligtas ang bayan. Disiplinadong Pilipino ay rehistrado para maging bakunado.
Vice President and incoming Education Secretary Sara Duterte's call to reinstate the Mandatory Reserve Officers Training Course, or ROTC, is gaining more support from lawmakers and education officials. Incoming Quezon City Representative Arjo Atayde said Monday the proposal is interesting but must be thoroughly reviewed to ensure the best for the learners. On Sunday, Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa vowed to refile the bill seeking mandatory ROTC in grades 11 and 12 of both public and private schools, which he filed during the 18th Congress. Earlier, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian said he also supports Duterte's goal as the program will provide students with additional skills for disaster and calamities response and even in accidents. Duterte is hopeful that mandatory ROTC will be part of the legislative agenda of the incoming administration. She has met with her outgoing DepEd Secretary Leonor Briones, who also agreed to be the next administration's consultant for education. Meanwhile, to better equip the incoming members of the 19th Congress, newly elected lawmakers attended the commencement of the Executive Course on Legislation for further skills and understanding of legislation. The Executive Course is a 3-day training program that offers support to both neophytes and returning members. This is said to enable them to be acquainted with the ins and outs of the House of Representatives. The program is organized by the House Office of the Secretary General in partnership with the University of the Philippines, National College of Public Administration and Governance, and Center for Policy and Executive Development. A total of 24 out of 28 legislators from Batch 1 attended on the first day. This early, several incoming cabinet officials, lawmakers, and local executives have started presenting their plans and are working on it to help the Marcos administration fulfill its vision. Stephanie Sevillano reports.
Incoming Department of Migrant Workers Secretary Susan Ople wants to hasten the processing of the deployment of overseas Filipino workers. Philippine Overseas Employment Administration Chief Bernard Olalia said they're looking at the efficiency of the delivery of services to OFWs. President-elect Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. named Ople to the DMW post in May. Meanwhile, Senator-elect Rafi Tulfo said he will give his full support to the Marcos administration and prove the critics wrong as he carries out the administration's agenda. Foremost among Marcos's plans is reviving the economy as the world beats the COVID-19 pandemic, such as micro, small, and medium enterprise, jump-starting the economy and employment. The majority plans to give Tulfo the chairmanship of the Committee on Energy and the Plan Committee on Overseas Filipino Workers. Mayor-elect Sebastian Duterte vowed to continue protecting the well-being of Davaoenos as he took his oath at the Sangguniang Paglungsod in Davao City yesterday. In the speech, Duterte also assured that effective and full implementation of the laws of the city. The presidential son assured that businesses will continue to thrive, job opportunities would be available, and that Davaoenos will remain safe and healthy. Duterte said the city government will also continue to implement policies, streamlining government processes. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Stephanie Sevillano.
A lawmaker wants Congress to find ways to help Muslims complete their Hajj or pilgrimage to Mecca, Saudi Arabia, and give them a better experience. Basilan Representative Mujib Hataman made the call after several Filipino Hajj pilgrims traveling to Saudi Arabia were stranded in Metro Manila. The flights bound for KSA last June 19, 20, and 21 were canceled. Hataman wants Congress to probe the reported failure of the National Commission for Muslim Filipinos to secure visas for the stranded pilgrims. Hataman said the government could consider tapping the private sector to coordinate and process all the requirements of Hajj pilgrims. NCMF Commissioner Yusuf Mando, for his part, assured that the commission is already fast-tracking the issuance of Hajj visas and securing new flights for the pilgrims. Brent oil prices are expected to rise on the second half of 2022 amid the lack of oil supply for the world market. IHS Markit says oil prices are figured to go up to $135 per barrel from its current price of $110 by the second quarter of the year, and may even rise up again to $136.3 in the third quarter. An expert says that the price hike is due to the insufficient oil supply on the world market. Major reasons are in the dispute between Russia and Iran, the biggest oil producers in the world, that cause a low probability of reaching agreement for Iranian oil purchase, and the reduction in free production capacity in OPEC plus countries. IHS also says that the second half of the year, the free production capacity of OPEC plus countries is estimated at 2.7 million barrels per day, but will decline to only 1.8 million barrels by the end of the fourth quarter. Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates are expected to increase their oil production until the end of the year. IHS eyes to focus on the transformation of the global oil market to aid the insufficient supply to countries. More stories from the newsroom. Digital tools help micro, small, and medium enterprises brace for the impact of disasters to their businesses. And gradually returning to normal, the Davao International Airport is now catering to more flights after a 2-year pandemic hiatus. Details ahead. Stay with the PNA Newsroom.
Tandaan ang tamang paraan ng paghuhugas at paglilinis ng kamay upang makaiwas sa iba't ibang karamdaman. Basain ng tubig ang mga kamay at sabunin. Unang sabunin ang mga palad at ang likod ng mga kamay. Kuskusin na maigi ang pagitan ng mga daliri at maging ang mga kuko. Isunod ang pagitan ng mga hinlalaki at kuskusin ng paikot ang mga dulo ng mga daliri sa magkabilang palad. Banlawang mabuti ang mga kamay sa malinis na tubig at patuyuin ang mga kamay gamit ang single-use towel o air dryer. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito. Alamin ang mga dapat gawin sa lugar ng trabaho laban sa Coronavirus Disease 2019. Ang mga kumpanya ay dapat magbigay ng face mask sa kanilang mga empleyado. Bukod dito, magbigay kaalaman din patungkol sa COVID-19. Siguraduhing malinis ang kapaligiran. Maglagay ng sabon at hand sanitizer sa mga palikuran. Siguraduhing ligtas at nalutong maigi ang mga pagkain sa kantina. Obserbahan ang kalusugan ng mga empleyado at katrabaho. Kung sakali man na mayroon silang sintomas ng coronavirus disease, gaya ng lagnat, ubot sipon at hirap sa paghinga, ay agad ipasuri sa doktor. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
The Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation is tapping businesses to help prepare for disasters and deal with their effects. The PDRF launched on Monday 2 new digital tools to help micro, small, and medium enterprises, or MSMEs, improve their disaster preparedness programs. The Disaster Risk and Disaster Preparedness Needs Assessment Tool and the Business Continuity Capability Assessment Tool will help MSMEs gauge their vulnerability to disaster risks and the effectiveness of having a business continuity plan. The launch of the tools coincided with this year's MSME Day, which promoted resilience and rebuilding as they navigate the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, conflicts, and climate crisis. Both tools are now available on PDRF's digital learning platform, iAdapt, and may be accessed by the general public. Police arrested a member of the Abu Sayyaf group in Zamboanga City. The suspect, identified as Ban Sali Ubi, 47 years old, was arrested in Barangay Arena Blanco. He yielded 3 caliber .45 pistols, a caliber .38 revolver, and assorted ammunition. Ubi has a standing warrant of arrest for murder and 3 counts of frustrated murder. Also, police said the suspect was involved in the May 2009 ambush of then Sulu Police Chief Jula Sirim Kasim and 3 other policemen in May 2009 in Maimbang, Sulu. Ubi is a follower of slain Sulu-based ASG leaders Albader Parad and Madjan Sahid Juan, who were involved in kidnapping for ransom, extortion, robbery, and other illegal activities in Sulu. As travel gradually returns to normalcy, officials of the Davao International Airport, or DIA, announced that the facility is now serving over 30 flights daily after the hiatus due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Department of Tourism in Davao Region says the airport now caters to 29 domestic flights and 2 international flights daily. DIA Manager Rex Obsena says the reopened flights are those bound for Manila, Cebu, Iloilo, Cagayan de Oro, Tagbilaran, and Zamboanga. And these are operated by Cebu Pacific, Philippine Airlines, and AirAsia. Meanwhile, the airport has 2 international flights by Scoot Tiger Air and Singapore Airlines. DOT 11 Director Tanya Rabat-Tan said the gradual return of the DIA to its normal operations signals the revival of the region's tourism industry, stressing that sea diving and other tourist activities in the Davao region will be revived as well. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. Metro Manila and several other areas in the country remain under the most lenient Alert Level 1 despite an apparent uptick in COVID-19 cases. Agriculture Chief William Dar says officials of the agency tagged as involved in smuggling must defend themselves, the latest development in the face of a country confronted by food security issues. President Rodrigo Duterte is stepping down from office on a high note as he remains the most trusted chief executive in the post-EDSA 1 era based on the results of a recent poll. And small businesses get boosted capability to weather the impact of disasters thanks to digital tools aimed at preparing them for the unexpected. As Filipinos, we all have a vital role to play in preventing the spread of COVID-19.
So remember, wear your face masks and face shields, wash your hands often, practice safe physical distancing, go out only for essential reasons, and get vaccinated as soon as possible to protect ourselves, our families, and the community. Together, we can beat COVID-19.
Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. For more news content, check our webpage or log on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on PTV4. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, we tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo, the Daily.